the Dow Jones Industrial crossed 50,000. Do you want to know why you're not feeling any richer? Epstein and his friends have hurt our economy. And now I know there are some people out there who want us to ignore what our eyes are seeing and not believe what our ears are hearing. And these are the people who also want us to consider this a big game. But I submit to you that this is not the time for games. We're going to have to take what we see and what we hear very seriously if we're going to change the world that we see. Let me first start off by saying that we are one of the most productive generations that have ever existed. The access that we have to technology is unprecedented. I know some folks out there who are working part-time jobs and taking care of their family. I know some folks that they're unable to reach the level where they can get hired in full-time employment, so they are taking multiple part-time jobs in order to work a full-time schedule. Some folks are working 40, 50, sometimes even 60 hours a week because they have multiple part-time jobs and they need to work that many hours in order to take care of their family. I know quite a few folks for the last decade that have been working full-time jobs, 40 hours a week, hard labor. I know other folks who are working to get as much overtime as they can. So they're working a full-time job and they're trying to get as much overtime as they can in order to take care of their family and to pay their bills and to secure a financial future for their children. I know other folks who are working or who are freelancers and are stacking their schedule and trying to raise their hourly rate in order to earn as much money as they can as a freelancer or as a contractor. There are other people out there who are in a different situation and they're salaried employees. So their salary is a certain level and they're bringing home a certain amount, and regardless of how hard they work or how many hours they put in, they still get paid the same, but they hope that if they put in the extra hours at work, then those hours are going to result in a promotion or a raise or a bonus at the end of the year. And so they're putting in some 40, some 50, some 60, so 60 hours a week, some even more than that, depending on how high pressure and how much competition is in their industry. Now there are other people out there who are business owners, and they're have an entrepreneurial model. So they own a business, maybe they're working in their business, and they're working extremely hard to keep their business afloat because that is essentially the boat that they're going to use in order to create a financial future for their family and for their children. Everywhere we look, even in the even in the investor class, everywhere we look in our society, there are people out there that are being extremely productive every single week, every single month, every single year. And as the Dow Jones crosses 50,000, to me that's a sign of the amount of productivity that we are putting into our economy. The problem is we're putting our work, our effort, our energy, and the best of our creativity and the best of our intelligence into the economy, but we're not feeling richer because we're not able to get the returns on the investments in labor and the financial investments that we are putting into the economy out. And I believe that the reason why we're not able to live our dreams and have a better quality of life and purchase the things that we need to purchase in order to live better is because of Epstein and his friends. They have hurt our economy. When you think about what is happening in our stock market and the reason why it has gone up, it's all based off of the backs of the hardest working individuals in our society and that a society has ever produced. Not only are we working extremely hard, but we also have access to the best technology. And the technology continues to get better and better. And we as a people learn the new technology and we learn how to use it most efficiently. As we work, Whatever we're doing, we're either delivering services at a high quality or we're producing products at a high quality. Whatever we are doing in the economy in order to take care of ourselves and our family, at some point that ends up in profit or revenue. And Epstein and his friends are able to see how hard we are working. They're able to see the businesses that we are building and the industries that are getting stronger. And he is able, and he was able to manipulate the stock prices. He was able to influence the banks in his own way. And he was able to siphon out the profits and the revenues from our economy. And so instead of the profits that we are creating going into our investment accounts at a higher rate and enabling us to achieve some sort of financial independence, him and his friends have found a way to siphon out the profit that our economy is creating and put it into their own pockets. Now, I know that is a bold statement, so I'm going to break that down. Epstein and his friends had access to the leaders of some of the most influential companies. He also had influence on and access to financial resources, the most influential and the wealthiest banks. Him and his friends also had access to some of the most influential and the most powerful folks in government service. By controlling the banks, by controlling the access to our government services and our government administrations, and by influencing business leaders, he was able to essentially provide financing. He was essentially able to set government policy. He was able to elect members of Congress. He was able to. It was like a spider web. He was able to do so much in so many different areas of our society and our economy, so that his team, his small group of people, would win. It's being reported right now that he was able to rig one of the lotteries when he was arrested in, I believe, 2008 or 2005. His firm won the lottery one year, and then I believe like the next year it's being reported that his one of his personal pilots also won. And it was like, what a coincidence. The day or the year that he goes to prison is the same year that somehow, some way he magically wins the lottery. It makes me think that one of the consolation prizes for him going to prison and keeping his mouth shut was he was going to win the lottery. So he's going to be compensated financially. That's how deep this network is. I know some people are afraid to even speak about it because it is so rampant in our society. So as we work, as we earn our living, we expect the money that we are the products that we're producing to be sold for a certain amount, and that revenue to filter back into our pockets as a workforce. But when that money is made off of the products and the services that we are delivering and producing, that money first goes to the company, and the company, because they have financing, has to spend some of that money to pay to finance their debt. And so that interest that is being paid goes to the banks that lended the company the money. And then the banks, they have to pay a certain amount of interest to the government. And the government is being influenced by Epstein and his friends. So they're able to either write government contracts, they're able to set government policy. You'll see this so much in the last year with respect to the tariffs. They're able to predict when the tariffs are going to come on and off, so that people who are day trading behind the scenes are able to make a profit, while me and you and the rest of the economy is essentially doing buy and hold. We're waiting, we're investing in the stock market out of a form of faith, and we're expecting our stocks to go up enough, but they're never getting to the point where they're going to be able to give us financial independence. And what we have found with the people who are working and they're making money on the stocks, and they're also making money on their wages. What we found is the people who are most engaged into the economy, who are earning a living as well as investing, when they try to cash out and retire and live the life that they want to live, the life that they want to live is much more expensive than when they started working and started planning for retirement, or planning to move on to the next phase of their life. Because everyone is investing in the stock market. Everyone is essentially getting hurt by Epstein and his friends. And when you get out, you realize, oh, that house that you want to buy, that car that you want to buy, the school you want to send your children to, all of that is more expensive because there's more demand for it. And it's a very interesting concept, because you would think that if you have $5 million or $10 million in the bank, and a certain amount of that is investments and some of that is liquid, and you're still working, you figure that you'd be feeling pretty good about yourself and you'd feel wealthy and rich. But that's just not the case in our economy. Even the wealthiest people, the people who belong to the top, essentially 1% of their demographics, are not feeling wealthy, and they're not feeling rich. They're not feeling like they're living the American dream, because everything, even at their level, is more expensive. Some people will say, well, you have to live within your means. You're simply trying to live a lifestyle that you can't afford. So don't scale up. Don't buy that expensive stuff. But I believe that the problem in our economy is not that people who are earning a certain amount of money are upgrading their lifestyle. I believe that the problem is we are competing over the same amount of resources. One of the things that Epstein and his friends have been able to do was disincentivize businesses from producing higher quality products at lower costs. There's there's something that goes with interest and debt payments. When a company takes out an interest or a debt payment, or has to pay a debt payment, they're essentially forced to siphon off a bit of their revenue, a bit of the revenue that could have been profits, and give that money to a bank or to a financial institution. That institution will continue to loan, and based on the rates of that loan, they'll either pay higher or lower based on the economic conditions and based on their agreement, their contract. So a company that is paying interest payments to a financial institution is disincentivized from lowering the cost or lowering the price that their products and services are being delivered by. They're essentially encouraged to continue to increase the cost without increasing the quality. And take cars, for example. The cars have been in our economy for decades, for generations. We've had cars. And you would think that the concept of a car, the parts that go into it, the natural resources that must be extracted from the earth, and the production process, you would think that we become more efficient at producing cars. And we'd also think that because we have so many natural resources in our country and around the world, you would think that the cost of a car would actually decrease over time. But that hasn't been the case. Cars are just as expensive. When you think about our real wages and adjusted for inflation, cars are just as expensive as they were before. At some point, if the economy is working well, cars should be cheaper. Houses should be cheaper. We've been living in homes and houses for generations. We know it requires wood. We know it requires plaster. We know it requires stone. We know it requires these raw materials. Why is it so hard to build houses and homes? Why are houses and homes even more expensive than they were before in previous generations? It's because men like Epstein and his friends have artificially driven up the prices of cars, of homes, of all of our goods and services so that they can siphon out the money and pocket it for themselves. They do this by government policies. Sometimes they're green policies, sometimes they're legacy policies, but they do it by creating random policies and regulations. He influences politicians in order to create those regulations, and then he'll grant exemptions to certain companies and then get the kickbacks later on. They do it by the financial institutions. They'll offer interest loans, and they'll say, "Hey, this particular natural resource which God has produced, this natural resource is going to cost you a certain amount to extract because we hold the license for some reason." And because the government holds the license and the government is able to grant access to that natural resource, they're able to charge that company a certain amount of money. But what we don't know until just recently is men like Epstein also control the government. So they're able to exempt companies from accessing natural resources and decrease the competition for those natural resources by decreasing the competition for the natural resources, they actually they actually drive up the prices. Essentially, they create a market that is have has artificially low competition, which provides the companies that are extracting the natural resources and producing the products, it provides them more leverage in order to charge higher and higher prices in the marketplace. Every single thing that Epstein and his friends have been doing has been a matter of decreasing competition in government, decreasing competition in financial institutions, decreasing competition in our industries, decreasing competition for our natural resources. The whole point of what he has been doing has been artificially decreasing the competition in order to drive up the prices, which is kind of crazy when you think about that. You would think that if you have millions and billions of dollars in the bank, you no longer have an appetite for wealth. You no longer have that appetite for that type of wealth. You would think that after you become a billionaire, what more do you need money for? You can do whatever it is that you want to do. You can send your kids to school. You can. What more do you want? Why don't you use your considerable resources to start schools and do things for humanity? Why doesn't your mind ever transition away from that survival instinct, that survival mechanism that has allowed you to acquire that much wealth? At some point, your mind, if you're a good person, your mind should transition into doing good things for humanity and making sure that you leave a legacy that will last for multiple generations. But Epstein and his friends don't think like that. And because he doesn't think like that, he is able to acquire more and more resources, more and more wealth. I'm talking about monetary wealth. And by acquiring more and more monetary wealth, his influence increased and increased and increased. And essentially he got to the place where he was able to access a lot of capital. He has this we're learning that Bitcoin was a currency that he created in order to transact business. So he's able to move large sums of money. He's able to influence companies, and he's also able to influence governments, essentially degrading the quality of our democracy, which is why we have this particular current administration that is having an issue with geopolitical tensions, is having an issue with our trade policies and our economy. We have a current administration that is bogged down in scandal after scandal after scandal because men like Epstein have have created this beast. They've created this problem. And now we're here having to decide whether or not it is worth putting forth our effort to solve it. What we have today is an Epstein problem that is not going to go away unless we solve it. I'm I'm um, very confident. I'm very sure, very convinced that this Epstein problem is very persistent. I'll say it again: the what I see happening in our economy, how the stock market can go up, and millions of people don't feel richer. Millions of people are not able to retire early. Millions of people are not able to get access to high quality health care. Millions of people are not able to provide their children a high quality education. When I see the infrastructure and I drive down the street and I see the potholes or I see the trash on the street and in Los Angeles and I see the city of angels in the state that it's in, I see California, which is one of the most advanced states and one of the biggest economies, and I see what is happening in our state. We don't even have a high speed train. We don't have an efficient way. We don't even have an efficient way to go from Sacramento down to San Diego. And we're one of the biggest economies in the United States. Every single place in our society, Epstein, when I think about the economy, Epstein and his friends have siphoned off the profit. They've siphoned off the revenue. There's no telling how much money they actually have. Um, it's been clear to me over the last couple of days that people who have the most money don't necessarily have the best morals. Even though we look at people who have money as people who are in leadership positions in the economy, we look at people who have money as people who are successful, because we're told that if you work hard, if you have good morals, if you do a good job, we're told that that's valuable in the economy, and you'll be able to get a job, you'll be able to earn a living, you'll be able to take care of your family. But we're learning that that's not the case up at the top. Uh, it's no problem if you have $5 to your name and you're a selfish person. Like what is your impact on society? But if you have millions and billions and access to trillions and the ability to sway and to change the economy of a nation like the United States of America, we can't afford for you to be selfish. We can't afford for you to be greedy, because if you are greedy, if you're selfish, then millions of people's lives can be at stake, which is why I believe that so many people across the middle class, over 170 million people, are struggling to achieve financial independence and financial security in the land of the free and the home of the brave. All of us are living the lives of what could be considered indentured servitude because of men like Epstein, who have defiled our democracy, hurt our economy. These men have created a system for us to lose and for them to win. And it's a small group of people who are winning. Every single year, our national debt increases, even though our productivity is increasing. How is that even possible? The problem is that men like Epstein have used their influence to elect officials who will take the money and sell out their community. He has used his influence to hurt our companies, to give sweetheart deals, and to decrease the level of competition by favoring one group of companies or one CEO in an industry over the others. So one CEO has access to government support, and the other CEOs in the same industry don't have access to that government support. One CEO is able to access financial resources at a lower rate than other companies in that industry, and so that one company that has access to that has access to better financial resources is able to win. So that decreases the competition in our industries, and when our competition in our industries decreases, then the company that has the most leverage can begin charging higher and higher prices and pushing the other people out of the way without even increasing the quality of the products or the services that they are producing. So on the street, when we're working and trying to earn a living, we go to buy a car, we go to purchase a house, and we realize that the housing prices are so high and the car prices are so high, and it doesn't feel like we're rich, even though we've been working our entire life and saving and investing. And you realize this whole situation is rigged. Because if you work hard, if you're a good person and you work hard and you earn more money, not only do your taxes go up, but everything that you want to purchase also goes up. I tell people to take a step back and look at the pudding. The proof is in the pudding. You don't even have to try to worry about all the different steps in between. Just focus on what is the result. Are you working harder than you worked in your entire life? If the answer to that question is yes, then listen here. Are you more productive than you've ever been in your entire life? If the answer is yes, then let's keep going. Are you feeling richer than you've ever felt in your entire life? Are you going to be able to retire at the age of 40 and then start a second career doing whatever it is that your heart desires? Are you able to provide a high quality education to your children? Are you able to receive high quality health care? Are you able to go on 2 vacations a year? If the answer to all of those questions are no, or any of those questions are no, then the economy is broken. And the reason why it is broken is because men like Epstein at the top, who are supposed to be using their considerable power and their considerable influence to take care of the needs of our country, they're supposed to find some sort of some sort of patriotic spirit that allows them to make a sacrifice or to serve to act in the best interest of our country so that the people who are working in our country and putting our faith in our government and the faith in our industry leaders so that those people won't feel betrayed and so that they can feel empowered to be even more productive to build the biggest economy in the world. The people at the top are not taking care of the people that are at the bottom. How is that patriotic? The people at the bottom are expected to make sacrifices every single day to take care of their family, but the people at the top are not expected to make any sacrifices. Do we love our country? Do we love the United States of America? I believe that there are some people walking around here that are trying to say who is an American, who's not American, who should get kicked out of our country, and who should be deported. I believe that there are people walking around here that don't even know what it means to be an American because they cannot see that Epstein and his friends have not just hurt our economy, but they've also hurt our society. And these people have the character that is so bad. Their character is so bad that even though they have a life that anybody would want to live, they can live a life of luxury. This man had an island, a man owning an island, and it wasn't a small island. And I'm not saying this because I want people to envy him. I'm saying this because this is a man that could have lived his life and left a legacy that would have lasted thousands and thousands of generations. I know people back in the day that built pyramids. I know people back in the day that use their considerable resources to build universities, that use their considerable resources to invest in infrastructure that would last at least 2 or 3 generations. But this man, the legacy that he left was to break our economy, to hurt our democracy, and to completely defile our society. And he did it amongst the weakest members of our society, our children, and the people who are able to be manipulated by money. This is why I'm so serious right now about creating a movement that will change the economy so that men, women, and children of every ethnicity can experience prosperity and live in harmony. I know it is not going to be easy. We are the most productive generation, and many times we feel so exhausted at the end of the day, at the end of the week, because we're working so hard to provide a better quality of life for our children. That's exactly what we are doing. And we really don't have any time to do anything else because it's a rat race that we're in. And so many of us, if we are paying attention to what's going on in society and we're unhappy with the way things are going, we remember to vote at least once a year or whenever the election comes up. But the problem with voting is it's a demonstration of our faith in our society. But what we are learning is even just voting in an election is not enough because men like Epstein, they're able to influence what candidates get the marketing, what candidates get the campaign managers. They are able to influence how much money gets spent on ads. They're able to even influence our social media platforms so that certain candidates' messages go further to more audiences than other candidates. They're even able to influence government so that they pass certain laws and they create certain policies to keep certain political parties in certain places in our economy and in our society. He's able to even influence his friends to put certain people on our Supreme Court to defile our justice system. Every single thing that this man has touched and has influenced has been corrupted. And we're reading about more and more of these things every single day. And we as people who are working hard to try to take care of our families and who want to provide a better quality of life, not just for ourselves, but for our children, we as a people, we have limited options because it feels like we don't even have the time to take a vacation. Even on vacation, we're working. We don't even have a time to take care of our family. Some of us want to have big families and large families, but we know that we cannot afford it in the place that we live. We want to create a legacy. We want to feel fulfilled. We want to feel content with our lives. We want to feel like our lives mean something. We want to know that our life is more important than just going to work and paying bills. It's not enough for us just to vote. Even though that's in many ways that we feel like this is all I can do. This is all I have time for. Many of us are working so hard, we don't even have time to go to the voting booth because we just don't have time. We have back-to-back meetings. We're traveling all over the world. In corporate, there are some intense careers out there. somehow, because the situation that we are facing is so bad, it is so corrupt at the top. We have to completely clean house. Everything, the way our government is working, the way our economy is working must change. The way our economy is working must change. The way our society is working must change. The way education is going must change. The way healthcare is going must change. The way our infrastructure is not being invested in, modernized in, must change. Much of the money that is being spent on investing in our infrastructure is being used for profit for companies, because those companies must pay the banks the interest rates that they're charging in order to service the debt. That and long story short, the money that is being spent on our investments in infrastructure is actually winding up in the bank accounts of the billionaires. At the end of the day, it's not being spent on the natural resources and the cost of labor that is required to build that high-speed train in California, or that subway or that train that's happening on the East Coast. It's not being spent on the actual infrastructure. It's being funneled out of the companies that are supposed to be building it, and the pockets of the people who are supposed to be working and building our infrastructure and modernizing our infrastructure, and it's being siphoned off into the bank accounts of these billionaires. It's so bad. There's there was times when I joined the military, and I used to just think about, like, okay, I'm getting ready to deploy. I'm getting ready to go to this country. I'm getting ready to support these operations. I'm going to be deployed, and I try to wrap my head around the concept of leaving my home and going to be an aircraft mechanic. So going to support the mission as an aircraft mechanic, and essentially is supporting an operation to fix a country, or to catch the terrorists, or whatever it is. And I try to wrap my head around that. And I would tell myself, I live in the land of the free, home of the brave. I live in the United States of America, and we are a special country because we believe in freedom. We work for freedom. We'll sacrifice for freedom. We will fight for freedom. We will even fight for the freedoms of other people, just because we know that if they're free, there's more of a chance that we'll stay free. The sacrifice that me and my friends in the military made was, we're willing to sacrifice our lives in order for people at home to live free. We'll stand in the gap. And I believe that that is an honorable decision. That is an honorable profession. Unfortunately, what I'm learning is the freedom that we thought that people were going to be able to live at home. People are not free here. They're not financially free. Even though they're working their entire lives, they'll never be financially free unless we change the system. There are some people out there who understand the concept of golden handcuffs, where you get paid a certain amount and your lifestyle is a certain amount, and you're unable to get out of those handcuffs, because if you make less money, you'll have to lose your lifestyle, and you lose your friends, you'll lose your community, and you'll lose your place in society. And if you keep those handcuffs on, then you feel like you're in bondage. You can't say what you want to say. You can't think what you want to think. You can't go the places where you want to go. So you're essentially in these golden handcuffs. That should not be. You should be able to achieve a certain amount of financial independence, so that you can say what you want to say, do what you want to do, go the places where you want to go, and be the person that you were born to be. Many times when I think about flying over these countries, and sometimes I would look out the window and I'd say, "Oh wow, that place is a third world country," and I would think, "Why is it a third world country?" When I started my studies as a cadet at the Air Force Academy, I studied military strategy, and I would ask my professors, and I would study, why are some countries third world countries, and it typically comes down to corruption. All countries have some sort of natural resource. If it's the sun, they have the water, they have minerals, they have some sort of natural resource. And when that natural resource is mismanaged, then the country's economy gets hurt. And if the country's economy is hurt, then a lot of the other systems in the economy are also hurt. The military is weaker, the police force is more corrupt, everything is just worse. And I never thought America would start walking down the path of a third world country, but I am seeing every single day signs that the things that we were told in the media, how Africa has some of the most corrupt countries, I am seeing signs that it is happening in America. When the people at the top, when the people who are making the most money, the people who have the most resources, when those people at the top lose their patriotic spirit, when they stop believing and working and sacrificing and fighting for freedom, when the people who have the most resources start acting selfishly instead of in the interest of our country, when the people at the top are no longer finding the need to invest in our infrastructure and provide good for our entire nation, when the people at the top are using their considerable influence just to make themselves more wealthy and are yielding to their greed instead of their better angels, when the people at the top begin to be corrupt morally, they eventually become corrupt financially. And when they become corrupt financially and they're still able to influence our government becomes corrupt. And then it starts to weaken from the inside. When our country was created, when the United States of America was created, one of the things that folks realized was we are a country that no outside force can defeat us. We are so strong that no military can come against us. No economic powerhouse around the world can compete with us. We are so productive. The way our society is set up, we are very productive, but we can be ourselves. We can create the conditions inside for us to be so weak ourselves that we hurt ourselves and we cause the downfall of the United States of America. This is what is at stake. For the people who are working and we're focusing on making our investments and hoping that it all pays off in the end, we know that it's not paying off in the end. We can see the lives of the people who are living who are a little bit older than us. We can see that the retirement age is moving in the wrong direction. We can see that the cost of healthcare is moving in the wrong direction. We can see that the quality of our education is moving in the wrong direction. We can see that the way our society is supposed to speak with each other and to engage with each other and build relationships with each other, we're seeing that it's moving in the wrong direction. Epstein and his friends have hurt our economy. He has hurt our society. Our national debt is increasing. Our stock market is going up because based on our productivity, but him and his friends have siphoned off the profits in the stock market behind the scenes. They have influenced our banks. They have influenced the policies that our government can make. Anytime our government needs to invest in some infrastructure, we have to take out loans. Those loans, guess what? They get paid. Those loans require interest payments to be made. Those interest payments are being made to countries all around the world and to our financial institutions, which happen to be the same banks that Epstein and his friends control. We're in a tough situation. We face a very determined enemy. We have a major problem that we're going to have to solve. We're going to have to stay productive. If we stop being productive, our economy will go down. I have to tell you, and talking to myself at the same time, we must stay productive. We have to work extremely hard in order to make sure that we use the right technology and use it to the best of our ability so that we can continue to grow our economy. We have to continue to grow our productivity. We cannot give up. We cannot. On an individual level, we cannot give up. We must continue to develop the skills that we need to be successful, continue to challenge yourself, continue to get better as a person, continue to get stronger. We are going to see the other side of this. We must begin to start getting engaged socially and in our community. We must begin to meet with each other. There are so many people out there that are relying on social media to connect with people. And social media is a very powerful tool, but we are learning that men like Epstein control our social media and they're able to manipulate the algorithms and they're able to create groups artificially and they're able to inject robots into the conversation and they're able to influence the kind of discourse that we want to have. They're able to influence whether or not we're able to find, nurture, and maintain healthy relationships. Every single thing that Epstein and his friends are doing it to divide us. In our country, in our constitution, somewhere I read that we are supposed to have the freedom of assembly, but in this digital age, we assemble online, and so we don't really have the freedom of assembly if the algorithms are not allowing us to connect with each other. And when we do connect with each other, it's they're regulating what we're allowed to say and what words we're allowed to use. How is that freedom of speech? I know that there are some people out there who will say, well, these are private entities. These are companies, and we're just using these products and we're just using these services as customers. But at some point, as a nation, we have to be able to acknowledge the fact that we are in the technology age. And within the technology age, we're going to communicate, we're going to assemble, we're going to express our freedom of speech over technology. And so as a government, we should have some sort of service that allows the citizenry, the people of our communities to connect with each other over the internet, over technology. We need to have some sort of product that is agnostic of these political beliefs and agnostic of the desires of a particular industry or the desires of a particular CEO. We need to have something that is a product of the people, that can work for the people, that we need to have some way for us to connect. It's essentially like a digital town square. This is what Elon Musk and X was supposed to do, but we learned later on with these Epstein files that what he says is not always what he means. We face a we face a big challenge here. So I want you to find time to introduce yourself to your neighbor, or find time to start meeting people. We have to begin connecting in person as well as online. We need to begin finding people who think like us, who believe like us, who understand the idea of freedom, who understand how important it is for America and the free world to survive. We need to find people who have a mind that can understand our patriotic spirit. We need to find more people out there who have a heart that can love and forgive, a heart that wants to belong to a national community. We need to begin connecting in person so that we can find more so that we can find more people who want to work and sacrifice and fight for freedom. Believe me, we're going to need allies, and this isn't for everybody. if you're if you're out there and you think that there's nothing wrong that's with the world and nothing needs to change, this isn't for you. Not right now anyway. If you're not ready to be a first mover, if you're not ready to make a sacrifice, if you're not willing to work with other people, if you're not willing to love other people, this isn't for you. If you don't have a brain that can learn, if you don't want to learn anything, if you don't want to step out of your comfort zone, this isn't for you. We need strong candidates that are willing to stand up, be loyal to the soil. They stand 10 toes down. We need candidates out there that will look at $200 million and say, no, I'm not going to sacrifice my integrity for $200 million or for any amount of money, because there is nothing more priceless, nothing that is more valuable than my soul. And I'm not willing to sell my soul for anything. We need people out there that are going to be loyal to our community, loyal to the organization that we are building, loyal to their country, loyal to the causes that are going to uplift humanity. We need true people out there. I know getting out of the military, as a veteran, getting out of the military, it was kind of weird trying to find my place in society. I know many veterans out there feel the same way. We live a purpose-driven life in the military. We sacrifice every day. We find a reason to go above and beyond for the mission, even though we don't get paid any extra for it. It's that type of personality. Some of you all have never served in the military, but you have that military personality. It is that type of personality that allows you to serve. That is the type of personality that we need right now. All right. That's my message for you today. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next video.